Welcome to the Beauty Dharma Summit, and I am Leslie Kristen. I am here with my newest guru that I am thrilled, honored, and just completely joyful of having her in my life. And I am sharing her with you, and she is world renowned. Alexandra Stoddard, the author, interior designer, philosopher, and the pioneer of the happiness movement. Welcome, Alexandra.
Thank you, Leslie. I'm so happy to be with you today.
Oh my goodness. She is in Connecticut in her beautiful garden. And before I start speaking to her, I need to share with all of you a little bit about who this amazing lady is. So, Alexandra Stoddard is a philosopher of contemporary living and the best-selling author of 28 books, including Living a Beautiful Life, Choosing Happiness, Things I Want My Daughters to Know, You Are Your Choices, and Happiness for Two. She writes and lectures on personal happiness and has spent the past 45 years inspiring millions of people around the world to break the rules and live more personally fulfilling, beautiful lives. Her books and philosophies have earned widespread media attention, including interviews with Barbara Walters, Jane Pauley, Katie Couric, Oprah, Good Morning America, The Today Show. I'm sure the list goes on and on and on, as well as a guest and a contributor, and profiles in major magazines and newspapers worldwide. Before she was recognized as the pioneer of the happiness movement, Alexandra was a top interior design professional who studied in New York in 1959, working at Macmillan Inc., and eventually establishing her own international design firm, Alexandra Stoddard Incorporated. She also hosted the HGTV program Homes Across America and wrote a monthly column, Living Beautifully, for McCall's magazine for 6 years. Alexandra hosted happiness retreats across the country and continues to host them several times a year, except for this year, at the inn at Stonington, which I will be at your next one. Don't doubt that. Alexandra lives in Stonington Village, Connecticut, is the mother of Alexandra and Brooke, and has 4 grandchildren. So, wow. I am in awe, and I am just thrilled and humbled that you are my guest on my Beauty Dharma Summit. So, you had some beautiful words that you just said to me when I said, I don't know where to start. Alexandra, you were
1,000 miles, Leslie. The journey of 1,000 miles is with one step. Let's do, but we have to be stepping in the right direction, and that's what beauty is.
It is.
Thank you. We're notching up the light of truth, beauty, and light, and happiness comes as a bonus gift when you are living in the light, when you are living a beautiful life, trying to uplift the spirit of other people.
It's so true. And you are an example of that. And so I have my first question for you that I've been asking all of my speakers. What does beauty mean to you, Alexandra?
Everything. It's my life force. I breathe beauty. I inhale beauty. If I'm living a beautiful life, I'm living in the light. I'm living beauty. I want beauty around me. I want beauty inside me. I want to be surrounded by beautiful spirits. I want this energy to make all my senses more loving and kind and gentle and tender. Beauty is everything to me. Everything. There's nothing that we can't make more beautiful, because beauty is excellence in mind, body, and soul. It's excellence in every aspect of our lives. We will never reach perfection. There's always the Japanese flaw, something to strive for. But when we feel the beauty inside us and we're able to give it to others, let me give you one brief example of the great inheritance, the great, great inheritance I've been given. I worked for a woman at Macmillan Incorporated. She was founder in 1924. Her name was Eleanor Macmillan Brown. My husband's name is Brown, but don't get confused. He was married to somebody named Eleanor Brown, but don't get confused. Mrs. Brown made me her special assistant. And I'm the only person in her firm since 1924 that's ever been her special assistant. And when I went to a staff meeting, she had them once a week, and she was regal. She was the grande dame. And she told her green interior designers, if you create beauty for yourself, and if you create beauty for others, you will live a long, healthy, happy life. And she lived to be 5 days shy of her 101st birthday.
Wow.
And she's my light. She and Peter Brown, my husband, he was an international trial lawyer, were buddies. And he was very important in her life. And we were with her for her entire journey to the end of her beautiful, extraordinary life. And I just want to tell you that she was such an example to me. You beauty, you represent it in your posture, in your being, in your confidence. The confidence is not egomaniacal in any way. It's humility and grace at its most sacred. And she exemplified that. Was so generous to the young. When I started my own firm, when she was 88 years old, she was kind of dismissed from her company because they didn't want grandma. Well, guess what, Leslie? I'm entering my 80th year, and you and I are going to be buddies when I'm 88, and you're not going to dismiss from your dharma. It's all good. The great thing about beauty is that it gets better and better, because every beautiful experience you've ever had, it remains in you. Beauty never dies, like love.
It's so true. Wow. Okay. I was telling Alexandra, I said, you know what? I hope not to cry during this thing, but I already am.
I've been scary too, thinking about Mrs. Brown and she wanted to be Mrs. Brown. She was born in another century.
Mm-hmm.
She was born in the 19th century, and now we're in the 21st century. So we're talking big time separation.
Right.
So let's have a little respect here. She was Mrs. Brown, and she was regal in her being, and we just called her Mrs. Brown. She didn't want to be called anything but Mrs. Brown, and I want to be called nothing but Alexandra. And it's so interesting how I learned from her the classics, and the design was so formal. Everything was in pairs. And she said you could always break up a pair. She was making twice as much money as everybody else decorating, because she sold 2 of everything. Oh my gosh.
I love that.
Yeah.
And you have those people that are just the ones that enlighten you and that inspire you. And I have to say, you are that for me. And my journey of beauty, which this is not about me at all, but it came very much from, a lot of it came from, you're not pretty enough, people leave you. And that comes from, a saddened little broken child, and until you can discover those things, daddy left, mommy felt ugly, I'm not going to get into my story, but it took me years to realize that that's a bunch of hogwash, that that little 6-year-old couldn't run the show anymore. But until you peel the onion or have people around you that guide you, that shine the light, that allow you to be able to see, like you said, those truths. I realized later on, I realized I went, I made a choice very early on as a little girl, somewhere in the back of my mind, that no woman would ever feel ugly if it were for me. And I've been a makeup artist my whole life. I've been in the world of beauty. So I have created something unbeknownst to me because it was really the 7-year-old running the show. And as I've been, growing older, and I'll be 58 next month, so I'm not a spring chicken anymore. And I love where I am. I love to be able to savor and have that wisdom and that knowledge. And sharing with one of my dear friends, I said, I feel more beautiful today than I felt ever in my 20s or 30s. And
You, go
Oh,
ahead.
no, I was just gonna say, and it doesn't come from that egocentric place. It comes from, I can I can date myself now. I can be with me.
One of the books that I'm working on, one of the pieces of my writing that I'm working on now, is how to find this great happiness on your own terms.
Mm,
And during the pandemic, we are on our own terms. We are not pretending that we're putting makeup on or putting on all this goose all over our body and all these ablutions we have in our bathtub and all these candles that we light and all these flowers we surround ourselves with and all these different scents and the oils. We're not doing it for Tom, Dick, or Harry or the Joneses. We're doing it for ourselves. And we don't care what our mother thought about us or our father, if the energy was negative, because we're on such a higher plane. We're on a deeper plane in our lives, Leslie, and
yes,
we want to lift everyone else up on angels' wings. This is where the light is, and
yes.
we spread our wings. You can help us with our face, but the beauty is inside, and that it radiates.
Mhm.
And we can smile through our masks during the pandemic. We're going to all wear masks
Yep.
because this is our way of helping to show our respect and also to help the virus from spreading. We are going to show it. We're going to have our eyes dance with love and joy
Yes.
and song.
Yes. Oh, I have to write that down. Eyes dance with song. I love what you just said. I believe so much has just, I've always felt like I've been very intuitive and had strong opinions about things, but always led that intuition. And that's why when now people just, they show up, and I feel that, the being able to utilize this form now, which is your first virtual summit and your first virtual interview.
You keep holding my hand, okay? Promise.
Absolutely. Anytime, anytime. It can turn into a virtual series. But it really, don't you feel that right now is there's just such a division, and it calls for us to go up and up and up, to elevate, like you were saying?
When I told you a minute ago that when I heard that we have a new president of the United States and a new vice president, and when I heard Jim Clyburn, and I love him so much. I love him for who he is. I love him for his love of his wife, his daughters. I love him in every way. And when I had my good absolutely sob, after I heard the new president of the United States and his vice president give their talks, their acceptance speeches, Leslie, I feel that we are called upon as healers, we're healers, to not just transform our energy, not just increase our energy, not just learn from what we've been through, but to transcend. And I think we are in a transcendent moment right now. We've turned the wheel of the Dharma. We are now in this spirit energy that's going to soar, and it's up to you and me and all the people that you can expose yourself to in the light, and we'll hold hands emotionally, and we will light candles, and we will continue to spread all this joy, because it's joyous to think that we can make a difference, and together there's nothing that can stop us from healing. And now I write about this, you know this.
Mm-hmm.
When my husband died, I didn't shed a tear. He was such a love of my life, all my life. I knew him since I was 13 years old. I curtsied to Mr. Brown, and then I married him 20 years later.
Mm-hmm.
I love this man so much, but I was realistic. Pain is inevitable. Suffering is a choice.
Oh.
You are not going to get me to complain about anything. And when I do, that's when I'm off my path. To sin is to be off your path. I believe that the healing and celebration are our birthright. We are going to always heal in our brokenness. We're always going to celebrate all the gratitude, the appreciation we have for these people that have come into our life to lift us up and tell us we can make it. Every single person in my life has seen my spark, saw that I had something in me that needed to be expressed. Because if you can't express yourself, you're mean-spirited. The worst comes out of you. We must express ourselves creatively in every way we can. And it's joyous to realize our power. It's so profound. And together, can you imagine what the chorus will be?
Yes.
And I want to sing in your chorus.
You are singing right now. You are singing. Oh my gosh. It's like talking to the Dalai Lama right now. Alexandra Stoddard you are an iconic light beam of the United States of America, and you need to be revered, and so many, especially the younger generation, needs to know who you are. And I'm going to cry through this whole interview because I'm just so darn excited. And it's tears of just fulfillment and happiness and light. So, oh my goodness. So let's see here. I want to ask you a little bit about pioneering this happiness movement. Tell me a little bit about that.
I felt such happiness being an interior designer and being able to take some person who was sort of confused about her life and his life. I've had as many men in my that I've helped decorate as women. I've had ambassadors and bank presidents, and I've done all kinds of corporate work. They needed help, and I was able to help them. And when happiness is everything. If your happiness in your space, if you're a bank president, you want to have the happy customers. If you're designing a bank for them, you want the customers to feel comfortable. And Panhandle in Texas, they can wear their overalls because they're farmers. They're coming in for bank loan. I've always wanted to make people happy, and there was just such a dark cloud over everyone when the scientists were studying pathology and misery. They weren't looking at the kitchen table, a happy family with some daisies on the table in a little pot, and children laughing and being with their parents. Happiness is what I want to be known for, and what I want to be remembered for. And when I tried so hard to get a publisher to publish a book about happiness, it was such a struggle. They turned me down. They said, no, but we have 3 other books for you. And I said, no. My literary agent said, come on, write another decorating book. And I said, no. If you have a beautiful home, if you have a beautiful house, it's not going to be a home. You're not going to be happy. It's not going to be a home unless you're happy. So I stuck it out and I said, happiness is a choice. So a publisher said, Alexandra, if there's ever anything I can do for you, let me know. When one of my other books was being published at a publishing party. And so I called her up and we had lunch with my editor. And she said, Alexandra, what makes you happy? Light bulb went out. She left the lunch meeting and gave me called my agent. And he said, hey, power lunch, eh? And so it's what makes you happy. That's your happiness. What makes me happy is my happiness. I think it's infectious. I know it is. It's contagious. It's an airborne joy. But you better do it for yourself because the kingdom of heaven is within, and I better do it for myself. And you can't tell me what's going to make me happy. You can tell me what to put in my eyes or on my lips, but what you put in my heart, I have to understand it for myself. Yes. And you can enlighten me, and I can learn from example, but I have to know it for myself. And when you know it, you know it. Mm-hmm. And that's all you need to know. And I'm so glad you said you're so intuitive, because being the pioneer of the happiness movement, it's just life-changing, because people can be cynical and say, oh, you mean I have to work at it? Well, like Dharma, it's a practice. You practice it every day. You're mindful. I was listening to mindfulness lectures before we came together this afternoon. I want you to know, and everyone that's listening, that it is not just carpe diem, seize the day. Carpe momentium, seize the moment. My husband taught me a little Latin, not too much, just enough. You must understand, Leslie, that because you do understand, you must absorb the fact that this is so basic, but not easy. Mm-hmm. People want to read the menu and think they're getting the nutrients. The life force is not in some garbage food that you get and it's comfort food. You can be in denial all you want. And comfort food can be delicious. And believe me, I love every comfort pleasure that I have. But at a certain point, you want to do something to the kale to make it so that you love it. So that's what you julienne it, and you put some good olive oil into it, and then you put it into bake, and it's all crispy, and you love it. And all of a sudden, kale is not something you have to have. If we had a recording of all of our vocabulary, the negative words that you have, 85% is negative. Doubting Thomas. Our brain has been, fight or flight. It's been trained for the dark side so that you won't get eaten. But now we don't want to get shot at. No, we're not going to live in fear. We're going to live in joy and live in light. And if we all go in the right direction, boy, there's going to be a lot of wind in our back.
Yes, and it's happening.
It's happened, and it's happiness. Happy. It's not. We're not in the post-pandemic. We're in the pandemic. Happiness is not post-happiness. People are saying only 14% of us are happy. No, we can be as happy as we want to be. That's Abraham Lincoln. He went through a hard time. Mm-hmm. Think what he did for us. Mm-hmm. We are in. I'm thrilled that HarperCollins told me that I'm a pioneer of the happiness movement. They knew that I was, because I was onto something. Because as I traveled around the country, we kept running out of copies of the book. I kept reprinting the book, and people wanted to say, what is this happiness thing? What is going on? And then the cynical people will say, you mean I have to work at it? I have to go to the gym and I have to work at my happiness? Yes, you do. You have to meditate. Yes, you do. You have to be out in nature. Yes, you do. You have to grow plants and watch them bud and blossom. And guess what? You don't get You don't get sick from kissing your rosebud. It's going to blossom.
It's so
You have to
true.
It's true. It's absolutely true. I'm telling the truth. That's all I'm doing is telling the truth. It's fun to be happy. It's joyous to be happy.
Mhm.
It's good to be healthy. It's healthy to be happy
Yes.
because happiness is health. Happiness is joy, and you can have some physical illnesses and be happy and
True.
grateful. You're grateful that you're alive
Mhm.
in our breath.
Yes. Yes. Oh my goodness.
We didn't know what we were going to get in for, did we?
Oh, I was just happy that you said okay and that I was going to get to meet you. So all the rest of it is just whipped cream on top of my dessert right now. Oh my goodness. So let's see here. So talk to me about where did your knowing come from, or how did you discover your knowing?
It was my awakening. When I was 3 years old, I became conscious in my mother's pretty flower garden. She had a cutting garden, flower garden, and I had my little pinafore on. And I remember because I don't remember anything before that. And so I started my life not with a silver spoon in my mouth, but with flowers, the fragrance, the murmuring of the bees, the butterflies. I was just in this sense of joy, this light in this garden, and the dappling light. I've always been so affected by dappling light. I love it when it just lights me up and changes. The light is changing every minute. That's why you have to be in the moment, because every moment's going to change. The next time we talk, it's going to be different. Something will have happened. What's happening outside of the power of our will is beyond our ability to change. But what we can change is in our power, and that's our job and our great, great, great challenge and responsibility to make things better for everyone.
Mhm. Mhm.
And when we think that way, it's a different way of living.
It is.
It's a very happy way of living because we're no better, we're no worse, and we can really make a difference.
Well, we hope so. And I think that like you said, when you're on when you're in your purpose, when you're on your purpose, things come about. And I think that for me, at least, I love tantalizing conversations and swimming deep with people and being real and learning and just sharing that, because it's what we need. It is that fuel for our garden. And many people don't even go out or have a garden anymore or smell the
They
flowers.
don't go out. They can have a garden in their windowsill.
They
When
can.
I was in New York City, I had indoor window boxes. I grew herbs inside. You can have a little plant that becomes a bush, and then you can prune it and becomes a tree. You can nurture. You can grow seeds. You can have. When the children were growing up, they were gardening. They had baby tomatoes. I mean, you can do it. Anyone can do it. It's very simple. No excuses.
It's true.
We have to be in nature. I'm so blessed because I get sunrises and sunsets. I live in a Presqu'île where it's very, very narrow. There's just this one street, Water Street, and then there's Main Street, and we have water everywhere. And the end of the street is the beach, and it's Long Island and Watch Hill and Long Island and Block, all these different. You see New York, you see it's incredibly beautiful. Not everybody has that, but that's my real estate. It's beautiful. I get to walk everywhere and see water and have sea air and paradise. It's
That's
paradise.
so nice. That is
But
so nice.
everybody lives in a nice place in their. If I, so many of the philosophers that have taught me to understand beauty, it's really our attitude about our experiences that can be beautiful. And I always love where I am. In fact, one of my daughters calls me Gum because I wherever I am is where I want to be. And it's where I am because that's who I am. And I can make any situation better. There's not a room I've ever been in that I couldn't make better. Now, for instance, my neighbor just came and he's raking leaves. Can you hear it?
I can hear that. He's making it better.
He absolutely loves to rake leaves. And we have a loaner. I didn't for a while. I couldn't find my rake because my children have been living here and things, they have all their possessions down in the basement. And so he had a loaner. So you put it on my side of the picket fence. You can see the picket fence. And then we're 13 feet away. He's my buddy. He painted his house pink after Peter died because I couldn't cope with taupe. And his house was taupe. And my writing desk was looking, I didn't want to look at Peter's desk because he wasn't there. So I wanted to look the other way. And his house was taupe. And so we're just buddies anyway. But I'm glad that he's raking leaves. I'm certainly not going to tell him to stop. As long as you can.
So share a little bit about your interior design and obviously, I mean, bringing that happiness. How do you work with clients and what I don't know, just
It's a mystery now because of the COVID. I'm going to have to do it virtually and I don't know how I'm going to do it, but that doesn't matter. The reality is that when I love beauty. My mother was an interior decorator, not a designer, but a decorator. But she did her best. And my godmother was they were both artists. My mother sculpted and painted, and my godmother sculpted and made it. And my godmother was on the board of the Boston Art Museum. And they taught me that beauty matters, aesthetics matter. So I've always lived in attractive environments as a child. My godmother's house, I loved it. It was sort of paradise because she was my godmother and I looked up to her and I loved her so much. You can't have all your relationships with one person. Your mother's important, but your mother might not be the perfect mother, but you have other relationships with women. And Missy Christian was very important in my life. And the leaf just nature.
yes.
It's just joyous time of year. And being outside, of course, is so meaningful to me. I'm going to be out all winter long. I'm creating a patio for myself where I can be in a cul-de-sac and be in the sun. And what was your question? I can't remember what you asked me.
You were talking about design and how
interior design. So everybody's writing me and calling me and showing me pictures of their house. Everybody wants to know what to do during the pandemic because you don't have to have a dining room if you're not having a Thanksgiving dinner or Christmas dinner with your family. You can have that be your favorite solarium. You can bring all your plants inside and have that be your sunroom. You can put extra lights in. You can have more mirrors, window pane mirrors to reflect light. If you have flowers, have a mirror behind them. You can do anything you want. And you don't have to, the way I don't want to be labeled. Rooms don't have to be labeled. And you have to pull up a chair where you watch the sunset or the sunrise. You have to move your desk in front of a window. So I'm here to express my desire to be useful in whatever way I can be during this pandemic and beyond. And I'm writing now a lot about the home because I'm seeing it in this pandemic situation. And I am creating more beauty than you can possibly imagine. And it's not because I'm having a dinner party or not because I'm showing off. I'm absorbing the joy, the fragrance of my lilies that are right here in two different bouquets that you can't see, but I can see them. I'm looking at the water, the harbor, and everything matters to me. That's going to uplift my spirit. Everything.
Yeah.
Interior design is really our skin. It's I want everyone to feel cozy by themselves. in their spaces at different times of day and night. For instance, I love to iron. It soothes me. And I can look at all my beautiful linen that I have and all the embroidery, and I can just turn it upside down and iron it back, because it articulates the delicacy of the embroidery. All this beauty is important for us. The time you spend in meditation it changes your brain, as you know, alters your brain, and you all the negativity is absorbed. You experience it, and then you're lifted up into the beauty of reality. And the reality is, it's up to us to have an attitude of joy and love and light and sharing and gratitude and being gentle and kind and understanding. Gentle, kind, and understanding, and being still, and not multiple tasking, not trying to be Tarzan and do more later, but do less now and think what joy. When somebody tells me how busy they are, I just smile, because that's their busyness. Anyone can be busy. Monkeys are busy, everybody's busy, but come on, get real. We always have time for the important things.
What can you share with the audience that they could incorporate now to live more beautifully?
Love more deeply. Be really true and real and authentic. And know that self-love and self-care is the least selfish thing you can do. Is an attitude of self-love and self-care. It's not selfish. It's not self-centered. It's self-centering. My mother said, "Stop being so self-centered." I think that any negative characteristics that we have, and if we dig deep enough, we'll find a few little sticky wickets that we want to fix up. Any kind of negativity in our soul, we can burnish, we can eliminate, and through practice and effort. If we're greedy, give more. If we're too busy, try to not multiple task, not be in such a hurry. Peter always said, "Hurry never." He moseyed. He was 20 years older. If I want to exercise, I can exercise on my own. He wanted to look at every flower and pet every dog. He's entitled to being himself. So just be yourself and be true to your higher self, and know that the beauty is inside us, and it will never fail us if we're true to our God-given inheritance, and use our gifts. What you love, Leslie, what you intuitively love is those are your gifts. And just keep on keeping on. But I want everybody to know that the beauty is our life force that will continue to guide us throughout all the darkness into the light. No matter what we're going through, we can grow through it and become more beautiful as human souls.
Wow. That is just beautiful. That's all I can say.
I want to sing and say, I love you. I love